Well, hello everyone. How are you doing today? Hi,
Hello.
Luciano.
Hello, Alba. How's it going?
It's so nice to have Luciano here today. So let me introduce him. Luciano is a developer with a lot of experience on the Salesforce platform. He's been giving talks at Dreamforce and Trailblazer DX for many years. And this year, he gave a really great talk at Dreamforce about Apex actions. Well, custom agent actions, mostly Apex based for developers. And unfortunately, the session was not recorded because it was like a breakout, and breakouts are not recorded in general. And I wanted to give him the opportunity to share all this knowledge and all the use cases that he had created. And he agreed with me, and he's our guest today. So, first, Luciano, do you want to say hello to the audience?
Yeah, like a short introduction. And first of all, very first, thanks to you, Alba, for this amazing opportunity. I'm so grateful, so honored for being here. My first live broadcast or live streaming, I was in Dreamforce many times as a speaker, but I have never be part of any live session. So this is also new for me, and hopefully we can make it uh, well.
Uh,
So
For
that's
sure, you will. And we are very thankful for you for being here today. I also want to say hello to all the people that we have on the chat today because we are streaming this call live on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. And we have so many people coming from different places. We have Joaquin from Argentina, Tech Lead Cloud Consulting, Asia, Chirag, Lydia, and we also have Assad, Pinto, Aldo from Uruguay, Ayushi from India, Thomas from Denmark, like so many people. Jonathan from Montreal, Marisa, Tamara,
I
and
heard someone
Kate
from Dubai.
from Sao Paulo. Say that again,
Nice.
sorry?
No, that I heard that someone was from Dubai.
From
So
Dubai as well. Yeah. So we have people from all over the globe. That is so exciting. And we really hope that you enjoy this presentation. So today we're going to talk about Agent Force. We are going to show some use cases that are developer based use cases, code based use cases concretely. And I wanted to first ask you, Luciano, about a small secret that you told me yesterday, which is you have experience with AI from a long time ago, right?
that's true. Well, yes, I wrote when I was graduated in 2019. I started working on studying machine learning, in which I wrote a paper. That paper, of course, allowed me to get my degree, of course, but also that was selected as a talk there at Dreamforce in 2019, using, of course, Salesforce product that were on part of the roadmap. We use Production IO, we use um, Apache Spark, we use lots of tools that at that time and today that are also relevant, and we did use Heroku. So all of that combination helped me for getting my degree, but also for being selected at Dreamforce. It was a really tough and technical talk, difficult to follow, but for me, it was a really interesting journey because I learned a lot.
Yeah,
Of
and I
course,
guess that
agents.
these are really exciting times for you.
There are, yeah, I'm constantly learning. I could tell you that in the last I would say 3 months, I learned more than in the last few years about AI or about other software engineer relevant tools. Because, and something I would like to say before starting is that most of the things that we are seeing today, apart from being applicable for Salesforce and for Agentforce, there are for software engineering in general. So it is content that is super relevant for engineers.
Okay, fantastic. So, yeah, definitely AI is the topic. Agents are the topic right now, and we're going to cover all that. So, are you ready to share your screen?
I am, yes.
Okay, I think you need. to, let me see, here you need to change there it is. Okay. So I'm ready when you
Hopefully,
are. I think you're going to give a small introduction, right, to agents, and then you will show some code.
yes, correct. So, as the title of this session is basically custom actions for agents. And we have three examples today. For the ones that do not know, Agentforce is our conversational AI that allows us to be more productive and solve many challenges within Salesforce for being more effective and efficient. And from the developer's perspective, we have three use cases that could be interesting and useful for you. And most of them are based on Apex. And we all know as developers that within the Apex environment, we feel really confident and we have lots of freedom in order to do custom things. We have three examples. We have empowering admins, which through Agentforce will be creating a custom object with fields. We will understand how to make that, and we will like generate and segment to macro steps or macro tasks for doing that. We will use tools like Prompt Builder and of course Apex for finishing and committing this transaction, this job. Then for if we have users about Marketing Cloud, we'll be monitoring and we'll be managing and observing Marketing Cloud's journeys from Salesforce, also from Marketing Cloud's APIs, which is something super useful. Imagine agents without having to log into Marketing Cloud, consuming Marketing Cloud from an agent, really convenient. And then we will show a last example that relies on platform events for manipulating UI behavior, which in my opinion is my favorite one. So let's get started if we are all ready.
I like the first one. My
You like the
favorite one
first
is
one?
the
That's
first
probably
one.
the most complex one. The last one, it's my favorite. So let's stop sharing and jump a little bit to. I have a diagram that I would like to show you.
Perfect.
We are having some issues.
Meanwhile, I'm going to respond to one of the questions of the chat. So, Tech Lead Consulting is asking about an AMA on Experience Cloud with George Abud. So, I will reach out to Christy Fidrak, who's in charge on AMAs, and pass your request. And then for your second question, can we show a use case of how to build Agentforce with Experience Cloud for self-service portal? So not today, but I will think about doing a codeLive session for agent for service agent and show you how to build it like in real time. Okay?
Perfect. Fantastic. I guess you are seeing my VS
We
Code,
are not
right?
seeing your screen right now.
Okay.
There
What about
it
now?
is. Okay, perfect. We can
Yeah.
see it now.
Yeah. First the
And
code
if
edit.
you can make the font size a little bit bigger, that will help.
Oops.
Perfect. Thank you.
There it is. Okay, fantastic. So we said we will be creating a custom object with fields through an agent. So with natural language interacting like a human. And if you're a developer, you know that a custom object should have a structure like that. And everything in Salesforce is metadata, and a custom object, which is well known, and it's what you'll be versioning on a repo, will look like something like this. Um, we have a descriptor and we have fields, and all of those fields should have a type. In this case, we have an invoice object, and of course, this invoice object have many fields: an account, which is a lookup to an account; an invoice ID, which typically is an external ID; and then a status with it's a pick list, right? This is like a typical definition of an object in terms of metadata. And if we pretend to do this programmatically, we need to generate something like this. So if you're a developer, you are used to work with this kind of files. In this case, it's an XML. And this is how you describe an object in metadata. Let's say you pretend to do the same, but from an agent. So you need to do and make your instructions to the agent to generate a custom object with fields. At some point, you'll have to generate something like this. And this is a great example of a good use case for generative AI, because we cannot, with classic programming, generate something like this. So let's say we request an object with certain fields. We cannot, with if-else statements, to generate an XML that covers all of the possibilities and variants in the planet. So generating this XML, this metadata dynamically, would be really helpful. So which is the strategy or the technique for creating a custom object with programming or with the CLI or with metadata? Well, we have two steps on an agent. We know we have our agent in which we will pass some instructions. These instructions will be analyzed, and then the agent will identify a few topics and those topics. And as I said in the beginning, we have two macro tasks to be performed by the agent, which is generating this XML that generate the metadata we just saw. So something that looked like this, an XML with fields. And then when we have this already, use this as the body of the metadata API. Sorry, there's something missing here. So use the metadata API for committing this XML to the database and generate an object. So the interesting part is that this first task, is done entirely by AI. So let's jump to our first use case.
But everything is done by AI, right? Because it's
Everything
the
is done by
agent, the
AI.
one who's going to pick the actions and do everything for us.
Exactly. Everything is done by AI, and particularly we have, of course, the metadata generation entirely done by AI. We will use the SOAP API called by the AI for using the metadata that was generating, and all of this will be part of a prompt and will be part of an Apex class. Let's put things in order. Let's go to the first macro task, which is generating the XML. And this will be a prompt. We have something super useful in Salesforce, which is Prompt Builder. And within Prompt Builder, you'll see all the prompts that you have available. And some of them are standards and others are custom. We have one custom, which is generate object metadata. And here we have like a playground in which we can interact with the built-in models we have in Salesforce. So if it's the first time you see this, Prompt Builder, it's the place in which you will be writing your prompts. Prompt engineering is something, a skill will be mandatory for all of us as engineers and active power users that will interact with AI. So if you leave these sessions by knowing that you need to learn prompt engineering or you need to investigate around that, that's super valuable. Prompt Builder allows us to write templates, and here what we are going to do. So we will tell the prompt, you are a senior Salesforce developer generating metadata through the Metadata SOAP API. So we are telling which is the role of this prompt. You will receive instructions about a new custom object, and you will return the XML with the metadata content to be used on the SOAP API with the create metadata action. This is super important. We are telling what its role, and then what this agent going to do. So we are instructing the LLM on the task that it needs to do. Then we have an XML as an example, and this is pretty much similar to the invoice subject that I shown previously. So we give some examples with the name of the custom object, plural label, name, a few types as an example, text, read, writes, details about the sharing model, other fields, number fields, dates, daytime, etc. And finally, this is the prompt you need to follow, and this is the definition. Something I did not mention that it's something useful is that when you create a prompt, let's
give it some seconds.
yeah.
This is the demo effect that everybody knows of.
Yeah, well, for some reason, Prompt Builder does not want to launch, but it's okay.
You want to show the inputs?
Yes, yeah,
You can
exactly.
go there in settings. You can click on settings on there it is, and template details. There you have
Perfect.
the inputs.
Yeah, when you create a new prompt, there are many types of prompts. In this case, we are using the Flex one, which is a general purpose um, template that allows us to do a multi-purpose prompt. And you can define input variables. And the input variable will be what the user will be requesting in terms of the custom field. So in order to test this, we have a section on the right, which is configuration. We see the templates and we see which model we are using. We are using one of the standard built-in models by Salesforce, in this case, the cloud one from Anthropic on the third version. But there are other many well-known vendors available for built-in models, or you can use your custom one, the one that you're bringing from outside. So on test input are basically the object definition, the input variables that you can bring, and let's say create a new custom object called Dreamforce event with the following fields. And I can, and you can see perfectly that I'm using natural language. And the first will be location and will be of text 255 characters. And then we can put date, which will be a datetime, and see how it behaves. So I hit preview. And what we are doing is we are testing our prompt, right? This is a trial and error task that, as part of the prompt engineer role, it is to verify and tuning and enhancing little by little the prompt. So our model, it returned this response. So
Let's
if you,
pause for a second, Luciano.
sure.
What you have just done is to create a prompt template that reads the description of the object in a natural language and creates the code that is necessary to be passed to the SOAP API so that this object can be created, correct?
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, and that example that you use there is kind of a prompt engineering technique, right?
Yep. Yes, and I provided an example with a separator here that indicates that what we are providing from here and here, it's just code. So everything that helps the model to understand that that's an example. So the model returns something like this, and see this definition of a custom object. It is called Dreamforce event. It has the plural Dreamforce events. So everything that the name is a text, location is text, and date is datetime. So this makes a lot of sense and was generated by AI. We are taking advantage of this body so as to use the metadata API, which is well known and has a lot of time there, in order to create programmatically an object like this. So now what we can do is to go to the second part, the part that we use the metadata API. Believe me that you will see the whole example in a few minutes, but let's go to the second step, using the metadata API on Apex. We have something which is the, where it is, have it here, metadata creator service, which receives the XML that was generated by generative AI. Something super important, when we are going to work with this Apex classes that we pretend to be used within Agentforce, we need to use invocable method, and we need to use label and description with a lot of detail. It doesn't matter if you're being redundant. The more detail you provide, the better, and it will help a lot the agent to know which action to pick and in which order. See that, for instance, create metadata. It says here on the description, create metadata, Salesforce metadata based on XML string input parameters. Call this action immediately after the generate metadata action. So all of these redundant instructions help a lot the agent in order to which actions should be picked. And the logic within this creator metadata creator service It is pretty simple. So it receives the SOAP, the XML body that was generated by the model as an input parameter, and it builds the SOAP request. Just make a plain, simple callout. And the way of generating the SOAP API is to basically inject it on within the SOAP body. Simple as that. Then the rest of the structure of the class needs to fulfill the invocable variables with details and an explanation, of course, of which is which. That also helps a lot the model. So if we go to the agent.
One thing there, Luciano, I saw that you had a hard-coded session ID. I guess the idea would be to generate that session ID on your own, right?
Yes, correct.
For the user who is invoking the agent.
Exactly. This is a session ID from an administrator. We can replace this by obtaining through another callout an administrator session ID. In order to not to make this code longer, we decided to hard code it there, but the session ID needs to be from an admin.
Fantastic. So that Apex class is what corresponds to the second action, right? And it's going to receive as parameter the code that the prompt template generates. And the agent needs to know that those actions need to be executed one after the other, so that the one generates the code and the second one invokes the API, right? And it's going to return what's the result. It's just if it was successful or not, right?
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
So we are here in the agent. We'll go to the agent itself. On the agent itself, we have all of the actions that are being used by this agent. In this demo, we do only have the actions that are necessary for the exercises we are doing today, but we can have like many more, especially standard ones. And if we open the builder will allow us to do two things. One, design our topics. Topics are like groups of actions that help a lot the agent to know which action should be performed on based on the user intent, based on the user request. Currently, we have 3 topics, and particularly this one about creating the custom object. It is this one that we called help users with metadata creation. And then that this is a place on putting all the instructions and being explicit and redundant. So this topic helps admins to create metadata such as object with custom field in Salesforce. Don't use this topic for anything that it's not creating metadata, such as object in Salesforce. Use these actions that you have available to help the users to create metadata. And based on what we said, we have 2 actions. The one that generates the metadata, which is coming from the prompt, which is generate object metadata prompt, and the one that creates the metadata, the Apex action. So in this builder, we can manage the topic and pick the actions, but also we can make tests and do some kind of debugging and understanding how the agent is picking the actions and in which order. So let's say I want to test this, and I say create a new custom object called car, in this case, with the following fields. And in this case, we are going to make it a little more complicated. So let's say on a car, I need the make, which is text 255. I need the model of the car, again, 255. And I need the year, but the year is a number. But instead of putting number, I will put numeric, 4 digits. We know that numeric is not a type of Salesforce, but we will see if the agent of the model is enough smart in order to generate the metadata, inferring that this is a number field. So at this time, it's trying to identify which is a topic, and then the actions that are related to that topic, and the order in which those actions need to be executed, and we will see if it works.
Let's see. I can feel the tension.
We can feel the tension.
There it is.
Okay, so we have metadata created successfully, which is definitely
Yeah.
good. And the first thing we see is that the topic was selected correctly, help users with metadata creation, and the actions that were used were these two, and in this order. So it picked the generated object metadata prompt action first, which is what we expected, and then after generating the um, metadata, then it called the create metadata for making the SOAP API. And the moment of truth that if we go to setup and we look for card, well, at least we have an object that was just created. That's always good. And see, we have the three fields already created. Make a model. So, well, here is missing. Oh. But most of the things did work, which is great. So this was the first example in terms of generating the metadata on the fly. Ada, do you want to switch to the second one and the third one quickly? We have
First,
time.
I was responding a question of the chat. First,
Sure.
I want to discuss a little bit about this use case because there are several things that I think are interesting to mention.
Mm,
So, somebody asked about topics and actions. So, I was saying in the chat that topics are defined as jobs to be done. So, in a topic, basically, you define um, the job that you want the agent to complete when it is assigned or it picks that topic to respond the customer query or the employee queries, right? And then you assign actions to the topic. So somebody asked about what's a good number of actions. There's no good number. It's the number of actions with which your agent can resolve the customer query, right? In this case, it was very simple because we just created two actions, but this use case could be easily extended to create other kinds of metadata. Instead
correct.
of just having custom objects, we could create prompt templates, like a prompt template that is like uh, more extensive, bigger, with more examples, and that is able to generate more types of metadata so that the example could be really used like in a production use case, right?
Right. We
Then
can generate other type of metadata, not just only objects and fields, which is something that we all know and understand, right? But we can do more complex things.
Then Hector Saldaña also made a really good question about how actions execute. And the fact is that actions execute asynchronously. So the agent reads your request. It knows which actions, well, it selects the right topic to respond to your query, and then it knows which actions it has available, and it creates a plan of actions and executes them. And it executes them asynchronously. And I can tell you that I tested it. I tested this, and I was able to see how agents can solve some problems that may arise when you try to execute like different not actions but to complete different tasks on a synchronous way, because I was playing a little bit with Luciano's use case on my org, and I thought this could be done in just one action. Maybe something that I can do is to call the prompt template from Apex in just one action and then call the Metadata SOAP API. I did that test,
Yeah.
Luciano. I don't know if I mentioned that. And what happens is that that doesn't work because you get a call out error because you are trying to do like so many things at the same time. So it's convenient that the actions are like divided in chunks, right, in small steps, because that way, first of all, the agent can combine them in the way that it needs to, even ways that we maybe humans haven't thought about. And then those actions are going to be like executing things step by step, as it's going to give you like more flexibility. And the other thing I wanted to mention, let me see. Yeah, so Luciano showed how he had defined. Maybe have you shown the definition of the agent actions on the setup menu?
Sure.
We didn't show that, right?
We didn't show. Well, yeah, we did it quick, but
Okay, let's show that because I think it's also
yeah.
interesting. When you create the Apex action or the prompt template action, so here there are two actions involved, one prompt template action and the other one is Apex action. So you can open, I don't know where you have the instruction that links the action, in which one?
I have it actually on both, but the one that has more instructions is the Apex one, the one that creates the metadata,
Okay.
the ones that makes it
Yeah,
so cool. Yeah.
there it is. So if you scroll, okay, there it is. In the agent action instructions, you can see that it says call this action immediately after the generate metadata action. And I was discussing with Luciano that this is a good candidate for a topic instruction. This could be placed as a topic instruction, delegating to the agent the decision on the plan of actions to create and which actions to create next. The thing is, Luciano started to create this with when topics were not a thing yet, right? Indeed, I have to thank him because he's changed the code like multiple times to try to adapt to the last changes that came to the product, and that's the reason it's here. But it could be better placed probably as an instruction for the topic. And then let me see, because I'm seeing some more questions on the chat. Okay, there was a question from Fahad. Do we have to give our personal API keys for external models like ChatGPT Cloud or Gemini? So in this case, Luciano is using one of the models that is offered as a service by Salesforce. So it's not your private account. But if you want to connect to a private account, you do that through Model Builder. Okay, it's another tool which is part of Agentforce Studio, and with that tool you can connect to your custom models, even to like models that are on Hugging Face, models that you have like fine-tune yourself and your private accounts. Okay, you have some comments about how interesting this use case is. Somebody said that the year field was not created. Maybe sometimes. So take into
Yeah.
account that LLMs are not deterministic, and that sometimes there are some failures. You can maybe take a look at that.
Yeah. Something that I would like to show is that if we exercise uh, on the prompt definition, the same prompt we put before, and if we make it even more difficult, like you put like this car belongs to a dealer, and this dealer is a lookup to account object. We tested this and this did work. But what it is interesting, and this is part of the beauty of generative AI, is that we are not providing any example about any lookup field. However, on the response from the model, then we have the year, which is a number, and the dealer, it is a reference to an account, which is great. And this is impressive on how well these models are being trained and the power that they have, because we did
Mhm.
not provide any example about a lookup field or a master dealer or whatever. So the model, it is enough training in order to generate more metadata than what we think and suspect.
Yeah, and to make it clear, this is just a demo that
Yeah.
Luciano put together. But if you want to do something like this in production, you need to really iterate. on your
Exactly.
prompts. You need to really provide more examples than the example that he provided, so that you get a level of completion or successful completion that is like the level that you're expecting, right? And there is a really good question. It's about the use case. So again, this session was created for a Dreamforce demo, but the question is, Luciano, maybe you want to respond. You would never create objects in production. So is this a sandbox? How would you control what instance the API call is going to?
Well, we can do that easily by querying the org while doing the Apex logic and throw an exception or some message to the user telling that that couldn't be done uh, on that environment. As we said, this is a demo, but the important thing to see and understand here is that since we are in Apex, we all feel comfortable for making the best way as possible. And we have lots of variants from all the knowledge we have as developers. We can do within Apex, we can query permission sets, we can query the org instance name, the type of the instance, whatever. So we
Mhm.
can
Fantastic.
implement that, yeah, from the coding perspective in order to be even more uh, sure and secure that this is going to be um, safe.
Fantastic. Thank you, Luciano. Somebody asked about the code. You are sharing the code. You have a QR code on the screen right now. And also,
Yeah.
I pasted
Okay.
his repo into both YouTube and LinkedIn. And somebody asked about Trailhead modules. So you can see all our resources listed in the Einstein One Studio Developer Center. We are renaming it to Agent Force Developer Center very soon. And there you're going to find all the Trailhead modules that you can do for learning about agents. And I wanted to specifically show you this one, build your first agent, which is a Trailhead module. It's one of the newest ones that we have. It was launched at Dreamforce, and it's really, really interesting because it's about how to build an agent like this, but that it is exposed to customers through Service Cloud and Experience Cloud site. And it's really, really interesting. So I'm going to leave the QR code there up for a second. And I think we can go with the second use case, Luciano.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
So this one actually will be quicker. We said I have an application which is called Agent Force Demo, and I'll be interacting with the agent directly from here. So we said that we can consume maybe external APIs, in this case, the Marketing Cloud APIs, and we can get information on real time about journeys. So if I ask for something about getting information about journeys, tell me about Marketing Cloud journeys. So Marketing Cloud itself exposes SOAP and REST APIs that allows us to ingest data on data extensions and many other things, and exposes data about their journeys and populations and the status of those journeys. So what I'm doing is, if we see a quick diagram, the same procedure, right, in which we put a request here on the agent, identify topics and actions, and in this case, finally calls Marketing Cloud APIs. I'm calling Marketing Cloud API for getting the information about the journeys. And what I'm doing, of course, this is done in Apex, I'm returning the raw JSON, which is the response from the API. And something that it's interesting to see is that, yeah, of course, the agent is returning what the Apex class is returning, which is a JSON. But I can ask parse this as a table. And this is parsed as a table. And the LLM, since it is a conversational AI, it is manipulating the output of the last action that was called. At this time, we are not calling any custom action. We are working with something that was part of our conversation. And I can even tell, okay, I want this sort by population ascendant, and it will switch the order of the rows. So we can manipulate the responses we are getting from a custom action with Apex and then interact with that outcome here on the agent, which is also interesting for us as developers, understanding that we can leverage the usage of AI for making difficult tasks like parsing things. Parsing a JSON is relatively simple, but if you need to parse an XML, definitely that's a more painful activity. So instead of like probably writing a lot of code for navigating within nodes of an XML, then you can leverage the usage of generative AI for understanding that XML and then showing it or exposing it in a different format. That's one of the examples we also have for today. The code on how to consume this journey is straightforward. So we have a Marketing Cloud service that I get authenticated on Marketing Cloud through custom metadata credentials that are not exposed here, of course. And when they are authenticated, then we call this get journeys, which it's a REST endpoint, really simple, that returns a body, as simple as that. And the journey service follows the same pattern in which we have an invocable method that has label and descriptions, and we expose it then to the user. This is, of course, connected with a topic and this action link to that topic. The last example we have today, I know we are on time, but it is my favorite one, in which we manipulate the UI based on a response or something that happens behind the scene in Apex. Let's say I tell the agent, tell me something positive. It is trying to identify which are the actions and see something. It says, enjoy your message. The message was posted on a toast message at the top. And in order to implement all of this, many things were happening behind the scenes. Let's go to the diagram first, and then we understand how we have it on code. But the reasoning for this is different. So same pattern, we identify the topics and the actions. And we are using the Models API, which allows us to interact with another LLM through Apex, really convenient. But the interesting thing is that at the end, instead of returning the message, I'm pushing a platform event. And there's something on the screen, which is this event listener, which is part of the utility bar, that is using the AMP API for capturing that platform event and posting within a LWC the toast message at the top. So how this looks. We have the inspiration messages service. The code is super simple. We have like a generic input, but we are not doing anything with this generic input. We are calling the Models API. In this case, I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is a light one. And I'm using a hard-coded prompt here, generate an inspirational message. So if everything goes well, when Agentforce invoke this action, because it is a custom action, again, written in Apex, everything goes fine, we get a message, which is a string, returned by this model, not the agent itself, this model. And finally, I'm pushing a platform event with the message. And the message that returns the action is always hard-coded. It's enjoy your message, as we saw here, enjoy your message. But the real message was posted on the platform event. So in this case, I'm showing that a toast message is put on the page, but the same way you can do changes on your UI, because this platform event could generate like a redirection to another page. We could have implemented the first example by navigating the user directly to the object just created. So there is a lot of freedom on what we can do with custom actions because we are in Apex. And in Apex, we can do pretty much everything. So these were like the 3 examples we had for today.
Good.
I guess there
So
will be questions,
thank you,
feedback,
Luciano. We have a couple more questions in the chat.
yeah.
So I'm going to go back first to your second use case, the one marketing cloud. That was super
Mhm.
nice because we could see that you didn't have to code anything for the agent to format the table in different shapes and to sort the table in different shapes and so on. There is here a question from BJ Kodadala. And the
Mhm.
question is, if we have an instruction to the agent to always parse the JSON output to table format, I assume it would be enough to always respond the custom actions JSON response in a table format, correct?
That's true. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there you have BJ. That's a really great use case. I loved it. And also, you showed the Marketing Cloud APIs, but there are dozens of APIs that we can use in
Yeah.
Salesforce and also outside of Salesforce that we could integrate easily. There are also some, there is also some out of the box capabilities with MuleSoft to create actions that connect APIs, external APIs with MuleSoft through external services. Well, everything is being developed at the moment and things are coming drop by drop. And it's amazing like how many possibilities are opening in this world. For the third use case, I think it's really interesting. So you used a platform event to launch something outside of the Copilot UI, right? Of
Absolutely. Yeah.
the
If you're listening
agent
to the
UI.
events outside
Exactly.
Salesforce, yep.
Yeah. So this use case, it depends on the user experience that you want to use to you want to give to your users. You need to be careful, right? Because I don't know, you need if somebody is talking to an agent, I don't know how convenient it is to show like the message outside, but for sure there are nice use cases for this. At the moment, the agent responses cannot be like the UI of those responses cannot be changed in a custom way with Lightning Web Components or so. But I know this is on the roadmap. So in the future, we're going to be able to create Lightning Web Components that the agent uses to respond something to the customers, which is going to be like one step further, right? And there was a
And Alba,
question.
let me tell you something on that one.
Yeah.
By following this pattern, if you, let's say on this left section, you have a web component, that web component, as it is doing the utility bar, could be changing its behavior and rendering different things based on the platform events that the agent is pushing behind the scenes. So we do not have a Lightning Web Component within here, but we can, on the same page, we can have something near the agent that will be changing dynamically based on platform events that will be receiving.
Yeah. Yeah. So fantastic. Thank you. And there is a little bit of confusion of because some people are very new to agents and they don't know exactly like when you are in prompt builder, when you are in agent builder, and when you are seeing the agent like in production. So can you explain that a little bit for those who have been connected and were lost at some point? Like prompt
Which part? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. What I mean is, um, some people were asking, like, how did he go from the prompt builder screen to this screen? And I was trying to explain in the chat that prompt builder and agent builder are two builders on the setup menu. And those are like the builders that a developer would use, or an admin or an architect to build their prompts and their agents, right? Prompt builder is just for prompts. Prompts are sent to the model, they return, and you receive a text. And for agents, it's like much more complicated, right? Because it's like you create actions, and those actions can invoke multiple things on the platform and outside of the platform, and then the agent is like the customer service agent or the sales agent or the employee agent that has those actions available and elaborates a plan. And you showed like the agent being used on the homepage, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we are using this agent internally because it's one internal employee copilot agent. It's called that way. But we can also expose agents, and they are, sorry, internal agents can be opened from anywhere in there, right? You were on the homepage, but can you show again, like
Sure.
how you open that? It's just that little Einstein icon that's on the top, and
Exactly.
it's there at all times. So you can open it from the case record page,
And I
Hector.
can expand it.
Sorry.
I can expand it. If, for instance, this table would have been bigger, I can expand it. So I can expand
Exactly.
it.
And if you are working with service agents or sales agents, you expose them, right? Well, agents, not exactly, but service agents, you expose them because the idea is to have like a customer service support agent that's talking to your customers for you. And in that case is when we use Experience Cloud and Service Cloud to do the implementation. It's something a little bit more advanced. Is what you do in this Trailhead module, build your first agent that I have in the QR code. And if you are interested, you can complete it today. Okay, I think we responded all the questions. I wanted to share a few more resources. So
Yeah.
first of all, there
I'll stop
is,
there.
yeah, I'll change to my screen. So this is the Trailhead module I was talking about, and that I have had on almost all the presentation completed. If you are interested, then this is the Einstein One Studio Developer Center that we are soon renaming to Agent Force Studio Developer Center. And here you can see like all the documentation linked, for instance, the documentation from the models API that Luciano used in the third use case, which is an API that allows you to invoke your connected models directly from Apex through the Einstein-Trust layer. You have a lot of blog posts and podcasts, also videos and Trailhead modules. And again, in a week or so, you're going to see this page updated. And then I wanted to share two playlists for YouTube. So this is the Dreamforce 24 playlist for Agent Force and Data Cloud. And you are going to see a lot of sessions of those who were recorded. Sorry, Luciano, that yours wasn't, for these two topics. Okay. And then there is another playlist that says Einstein Copilot for developers. This is because initially, like the internal Copilot that we released was called internal Copilot. Now everything is being like not only renamed to agents, but everything has been like revamped internally, like the internal architecture, and extended so that agents are like much more like we have several out of the box agents that you can install and use, right? But this is a great playlist to take a look at because you are going to see some videos that were created before Dreamforce this year and that have some information that is like starts more from scratch, like the basics. Okay. Then, if you are in New York, next week there is a hackathon. There is a hackathon happening on at the same time of New York World Tour, and there is a big prize of $20,000. So I think it's worth it to go there and give it a try. You're going to learn. You're going to spend 2 days surrounded of experts who know about Agent Force and also other developers, fellow developers who want to learn with you. And it can be like a great initiative. And finally, this is the code from Luciano for all the 3 use cases that you can clone and take a look at. So thank you so much, Luciano, because you have given to us everything. And I think this has been really, really interesting. There are a few more questions here. Okay. Okay. So there is a question from Susie. Are there any hidden limitations to what an agent action could do in regards to set up objects, or is it possible as long as the user has permission to do it? If you don't mind, Luciana, I'm going to take this one. So agent actions execute on the context of the user. So if you are the user asking that question, right? At least for the internal ones, you are an authenticated user, and whatever Apex executes is going to execute under your permissions. So it's going to honor your permissions and what you can do in there. And then there is another question from Adeyemi. How do I calculate how much I'm being charged in message credits when using agents? So there is something called digital wallet, okay, which is like a consumption monitor. And you can take a look at that to see your consumption of Agent Force and Data Cloud credits if you are using some of the Data Cloud capabilities. And yeah, I think that's it. If there are no more questions, I will let you say a final word, Luciano. Thank you so much for this. I think this has been an amazing session, and people are going to watch it on YouTube. If you have questions when you watch the video asynchronously, add them to the video, because I will be watching and I will be trying to respond all of them.
I'll be
Luciano?
also watching. Yeah, no, no, yes. And something else before finishing, I'll be participating and delivering this session one more time on the Mexico Dreaming
Oh,
happening in December. So, in which, well, the material will be supported with more slides and all that stuff. So, thanks to Aldo, which was part of this chat. Yep. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we have it there. Mexico Dreaming 2024 in 21 days.
oh, I would love to be there, honestly. That's going to be amazing. It's the first time, right?
It's the first time, at least, that I'm participating on a Mexico Dreaming. We did some things in Uruguay
Uh-huh.
a few years ago, but
Uh-huh.
Mexico is the first time.
That's amazing. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. It's been so nice to have such an active audience. Stay tuned for the next Code Lives, which happen always on Thursday. Sometimes at this time, sometimes at an APAC friendly time. But you can see all them announced on the Salesforce Developers YouTube channel, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Bye.